Simplifying your life isn't about adding anything new or buying a bunch of fancy organizing systems or doing some huge dramatic reset. It's more like gently peeling away all the little habits and expectations and obligations that we've kind of quietly picked up along the way and without even noticing it. And today, I just want to talk through some of the things I personally stopped doing almost by accident at first and that ended up making my life feel so much lighter and calmer and honestly just easier to exist in. So get comfortable, grab a warm drink, and let's talk through this. Stopping the automatic yes. One of the very first things I stopped doing, and I didn't even realize how big of an impact this would have on my stress levels, was saying yes to things just because I didn't want to disappoint somebody. I used to be the person who got asked to help with something or invited somewhere, and I just blurt out, yeah, sure. Even if deep down I was thinking, oh man, this is going to be a stretch for me, and I really need a quiet weekend, not this. And the funny thing is, most people aren't actually expecting us to constantly say yes. It's almost like we expect it of ourselves, like we're trying to live up to some imagined version of who we think people want us to be. So I started pausing, literally just a pause, and asking myself, do I want to do this? Or am I just afraid of being the person who says no? That tiny pause changed everything. It opened up so much space in my week and in my head, not trying to please everybody. And that kind of led me straight into another thing I had to stop doing, which was trying to make everyone happy all the time. For way too long, I tried to manage how people saw me, what they thought, whether they approved, whether I seemed like I was doing enough or being enough. And honestly, it was exhausting. At some point, I had this moment where I realized, people are going to misunderstand me no matter what I do. People are going to form opinions based on things that I can't control. So, why am I burning so much energy trying to shape perceptions that I don't actually have any control over anyway? Once I let go of that whole need for universal approval, it was like suddenly there was room for me. Like I could finally hear my own thoughts without them competing with everyone else's imagined expectations. It's one of the simplest ways I've simplified my life. Just dropping this heavy, invisible responsibility I never actually needed to carry, letting my schedule breathe. Another thing I stopped doing was letting my schedule get packed so full that my whole week felt like a race. I used to look at a full calendar and think, wow, look how productive and busy I am. But now when I see a packed calendar, I think, oh, there goes my piece. So I started building in what I call white space. It's just intentional, empty time with nothing scheduled. And at first it felt weird, almost like I was doing something wrong or lazy. But the more I allowed for open time, the more I realized how much of life I was rushing past before. Conversations, rest, creativity, even just breathing, all of it needs space. So, letting your schedule breathe is honestly one of the best things you can do if you're trying to simplify your life. Getting rid of just in case stuff. All right, this one took me a while. I used to hold on to so many random things, the stuff I'm talking about. Cables from old devices I don't even own anymore, clothes that I didn't wear but I convinced myself I should keep because I spent money on them, kitchen gadgets I only used exactly once. And all of it was kind of under this category of just in case. But one day it kind of hit me that most of that just in case thinking wasn't about the items themselves. It was about not trusting that I'd be able to handle life later without them. And once I started letting go of that mindset, the stuff got easier to let go of too. And the interesting part is, I literally can't think of a single time I've regretted it. So, having fewer things means having fewer things to tidy, fewer things to maintain, fewer things taking up space in the back of my mind. And it's crazy how much mental clarity comes from something like a cleaner drawer, not starting the day with noise. There was a stretch of time where I would wake up and instantly grab my phone, and without thinking, I'd throw myself into emails, notifications, messages, scrolling. And within minutes, my brain would feel crowded. I know we talked about this on the last video. And, it was like I was waking up and immediately stepping into a busy intersection. So I stopped doing that. Now I give myself a quiet buffer in the morning. Sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's 30. Sometimes it's just me staring out the window while the coffee brews, and the whole tone of my day shifts. It feels like I get to arrive in my own life before everything else starts shouting for my attention. So if you want to simplify your life, honestly, just try giving yourself a quieter morning. It changes more than you'd expect. Letting go of multitasking. I also stopped multitasking all the time, which I didn't realize was mentally draining me until I finally slowed down. I was the type to cook while texting, work on my channel while watching a different video, clean while listening to something noisy, and I thought I was being efficient, but really I was scattering my attention like confetti. So I started doing things one at a time. And it sounds almost too simple, but it makes every task feel, a little calmer. Even washing the dishes feels different when you're just washing the dishes. And I have to admit, I still love cranking tunes when doing them, but I guess I kind of go back and forth here, but it's like a mini meditation. Just one thing in one moment, just fully there, not shopping for comfort or boredom. Here's another one I had to unlearn, and that was buying things because I was stressed or bored or just needed a quick hit of dopamine. And it's so easy, right? You open your phone, click a button, and boom, something new is on the way. But I noticed that the excitement never lasted and the stuff always stuck around longer than that feeling did. So I started pausing before buying anything. Not even long pauses, just enough time to ask myself, is this something I genuinely need? Or am I just trying to fill a moment that feels, kind of uncomfortable? Most of the time, the feeling passes and the urge to buy passes with it. And it's not about being frugal, it's about not cluttering your life with things that don't actually add anything meaningful. Stopping the comparison game. I also had to stop comparing my life to other people's lives, especially the version of their lives that kind of show up online. Comparison can be sneaky, it creeps in before you realize it, and suddenly you're not appreciating anything in front of you because someone somewhere seems to be doing it better. But I realized that comparing never simplified anything. It only complicated things, made me want things I didn't need, pushed me to goals I didn't even want, or made me feel behind when I wasn't. So now I try to stay in my own lane. I remind myself that everyone's timeline is different and that simplicity comes from focusing on your own path, not someone else's highlight reel. Stopping the habit of earning rest. Another big one, I stopped treating rest like something I had to earn. I used to think rest was something you took after checking off enough tasks or being productive enough for the day, but that mindset kept me tired all of the time. Now I see rest as something built into the rhythm of life, something that keeps me grounded and balanced, not something that just needs justification. And weirdly enough, when I allow myself to rest without guilt, I actually get more done later because I'm not running on fumes, not filling every silence. And the last thing I'll mention is that I stopped filling every single moment of silence. I used to always have something playing, music, podcasts, YouTube, just to avoid quiet. But now I let silence exist a little more. And silence is surprisingly comforting once you stop trying to run from it. It's where a lot of clarity comes from. It's where you notice the thoughts you've been drowning out. Sometimes the simplest thing you can add to your life is just nothing at all. So yeah, those are just some of the things I've stopped doing over the years that slowly, gently simplified my life. Nothing dramatic, nothing extreme, just these little shifts that open up space for calm and clarity. Your list might look completely different, and that's okay. The point isn't to follow some perfect set of rules, it's to notice the things that quietly take your piece and to let them go where you can. So, thanks for being here and spending this time with me. And as always, take a deep breath, keep leaning into the simple things, and we'll see you on the next one.